What is up? This is your LA in a minute, and I'm out here on something we all use every day, but probably don't think that much about: the sidewalk. In fact, Los Angeles has 11,000 miles of sidewalk, and they're marked with imprints like this. Now, I remember seeing these when I was a kid, 1947, 1929. This one says Will Peck. But what is the story behind these imprints and our sidewalks? Let's get into it. So the first mention of sidewalks in Los Angeles is in 1854 on Aliso and Main Street in what became downtown Los Angeles. But those sidewalks were actually brick, better for wiping your feet to maintain cleanliness for entering the public businesses. Gotta remember, the streets were basically horse and carriage. They were dirt streets back then, so people would trek in the dirt, and the sidewalks were there just to wipe your feet. So by the 1890s, sidewalks as we know them, almost exactly as we know them, began to be laid throughout Los Angeles. It was the Victorian era and a new hobby was developing: strolling. People like to walk for fun, for health, to get some fresh air, and they wanted something nice to walk on. And remember, there were no cars back then, so there was no real need for paved streets. So these were in front of the homes and developing in the neighborhood so people could walk. By 1905, sidewalks became in demand, and they were actually an advertised item when people were selling properties. The width between your property and the street actually was directly correlated to the value of your home and usually your neighborhood. And that area at the time was called a concrete parking. So post-World War I, there was a building frenzy in Los Angeles, and there was a frenzy to lay sidewalks in existing neighborhoods and neighborhoods that weren't yet developed. And contractors saw this as an opportunity for free advertising, to stamp their name, their company, and the date in these sturdy concrete squares to let people know that they do high-quality work. By the 1930s, it was actually a requirement so the government could have accountability if there were any faulty sidewalks. But that's the story of why you see these imprints still today. Here's an unfortunate familiar sight with Los Angeles sidewalks: disrepair. Sometimes from earthquakes, tree roots, overuse. Sometimes there's asphalt as a patchwork solution. But the problem is the city has a backlog of 20,000 sidewalk repair requests, covering 4,600 of the 11,000 square miles of sidewalks in Los Angeles. That's a ton. So the construction of sidewalks hasn't changed much in the last 100 plus years. They're 3 inches thick concrete, 4 inches in a driveway, or 6 inches in a commercial driveway. And these lines right here, these are intentional to allow for expansion due to climate, soil, or earthquakes. So they say people don't walk in LA, and maybe they're right. But we do have a ton of sidewalks. And people like Will Peck make sure we know exactly who put these sidewalks in and why they exist. All right, LA, it's been a minute.